Yeah, any other patterns you guys notice with your family histories?
Just divorce and some 2 generations ago. There's a lot of bad blood with the men and women. I'll say the men.
Right.
Push out.
Yeah, that's
Grandfather was a terrible person.
that's a big common one. Let me see here. Oh, shoot. Okay. Now it's working. There we go. Okay, cool.
So that email you sent earlier, was that for us? Like, was that meant for this class?
Did I send the groups class to you guys
Mm-hmm.
about
Working in
different room?
groups, different rooms, all of that.
That I think was only groups. So let me look at it because we're in this room. I think.
And you said like great work yesterday or something like that. I was so confused.
Okay. So that is this. How did that send out through? Let me get my bearings. That's been the kind of week that it has been. So you guys got that announcement.
Mhm.
They should actually get it. Okay. Let me check. That would be here. Now you see why I'm not certified to teach online. Did you get 2 of those or?
No, just one.
But that looks like, or that was actually to you guys. So this one I should delete. I'll put that one in the other room. Thank you for letting me know.
I emailed you, you did not email me back.
What's that?
I emailed you at 11:57, you did not email me back.
What was that about?
The confusion with the message. Because I thought I was missing my data.
No, you could have been, let's see here. So they give us 24 hours to reply to an email. So that's usually our, so, but no, that one should have gotten out last, wait, so you guys, you're 3011 though, aren't you? So is this the announcement that you got? That one?
Yeah.
Okay. That was meant for the other class. I do apologize. So I will copy that and then just delete it. Delete. So you guys are just Tuesday, Thursday. We only had the water main break, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that one, that was annoying though. Maybe you guys enjoyed it. I was annoyed. So let me put this one out and that way it's done. New announcement. That's the problem with doing stuff remote and from your phone. New room. Because that's the gist of that email. You're like, wait, what assignment do we have? Is that what you were thinking? You're like, what the heck did I miss?
No, you just confused me with my days and you was like, great work yesterday.
Like that. So they have to observe a group. Hey, look at Grammarly coming through. Somebody told me to have ChatGPT edit my stuff too. Does it actually do decent edits or is it like?
I think it depends, especially if you pay for it.
Oh, I didn't know they had a paid for it.
I think
You don't have to.
No,
but
you can't.
It's better quality usually. Like
Yeah.
a premium program.
Like Grammarly is what I was thinking. Okay, so that's your last announcement. You are correct. Now, where's your email though? Like, how do you spell your last name?
No.
And did you send it to J Trout?
Mm-hmm.
And you said 11:59. AM. Let me see. Aha. I see it now. Too late to respond. Boom, I respond. There is no reply at all. So, do you guys have a place to turn in your genogram yet? It's under assignments. If not, then I will create one for you. There we go. Okay. So you're good there. Somebody was asking on where it's turned in. Because the next one won't be due for a few weeks at this point. How is everybody's other classes going? What's that?
Now today.
You said it was bad today? So what's the hardest one that you're dealing with?
I wouldn't even say it's hard. It's just a lot.
Like social work classes or other classes? Who do you have? There's only me, Nisha, Nikita, and Karen. Full time.
Okay, I'm not. Her class, hers is that good. Hers is actually.
And then here, all you have is the genogram, right? You still got a day or two. So what's the other one?
Maybe taking research writing with me, because that one's tough.
What's that?
Research writing, you have the 8 term only 7 weeks.
Is that for criminal justice?
It's a requirement I need at some point.
Or is that an English class?
So it's
Oh.
he's really great. He's Christopher. He's actually amazing. It's a lot of work.
I thought you were about to say away. I was about to say,
So I think he's only online.
she they're killing.
So whose is that?
He got Christopher. I got Elaine. Elaine Williams. She in there killing me. I'm not even gonna lie. I looked at my grade. My grade went from an 80 to a 60 in 10 minutes.
Nope.
What?
No.
It's a lot of work if it's anything. I mean, I can tell why this is.
And I'm in English.
It's the English classes?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm in English 1102. My grade went from an 80 to a 60 in the span of 10 minutes.
Just because discussion boards or something?
I saw like 13 discussion questions that I answered that she said wasn't the right feedback, but I didn't have my computer at the time, so I was like doing it off my phone. So I kind of like,
I promise you, we're not doing nothing.
bro, I tried that already. I went with Miss White. She said that his class taken up already. So now I have to go in a meeting with her. She talking about, I'm like, hey, can I get a meeting anytime this week? You know, I have tutoring
And she doesn't have time
Tuesday
for
and
it.
Thursday. She talking about, you know, you need to create a schedule and things like that. I told you the only days that I can't do is Tuesday and Thursday. She talking about, and I need to prepare.
You're like, my schedule's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right?
She
Okay.
making me go crazy.
It can be, so what's the hard one for you?
I would say my hard one. It's not really hard. It's just a lot of work. Will be my history.
Okay.
Mine's-
And who's the teacher there?
It's William B.
And then that's the intro level history or something else?
It's just a history.
Okay. And you only need 1 or 2 of those, right, until you guys graduate. Does everyone have a check sheet? I know I got an email for a check sheet.
I got to send you one. That's my bad. I got to send
Okay.
you one.
Just to make sure you're on track.
Does anybody know offhand when the deadline for the next semester? I know it's like crazy.
Like to register, you mean? It's usually sometime in March.
Okay.
Because they'll do summer and fall right at the same time.
Do they hit you with a $300 fee if you drop an ad at this time?
I don't know. I think I heard the last day was 2060.
I was going to say the last day was last
They gave me
Friday.
they tried to give me for a $300 fee 2 months ago because I had missed the
Don't let them play like.
No, don't let them play.
The crap out of them, saying, listen, man, it was 2.5 months before the classes started, you're telling me it was the 9th of like November and their registration was done.
They did that with my wife.
Withdraw from classes and still not be charged.
I was
Not
about
let
to
them
say,
play in your
my
face.
freshman year, I was just over class.
You said we can't
It was only 2 days.
until like
after.
what's a certain
Because
day.
drop out isn't the same thing as withdraw.
She couldn't be.
It don't just go on as a chemical.
I'm raising hell, just need a small
Yeah,
fee.
I'm not gonna lie, the way it's looking, I might need to drop this English and pick it back up.
And you're allowed to, right?
I don't think so, cause she belong with.
You gonna fight for some class.
I gotta do something, cause let me tell you something, I'm about to go to jail.
Just for the English class?
Just for the English class, every other class, and then my math class is doing too much. He's not responding to my emails.
That's only 1,500 or 1,700. You do.
I don't even know, I got it online, and he doesn't
Okay.
respond to emails and don't know how to comprehend the email.
My wife's down to her last 7 classes, and math was one. She's already taken like 1,500, but they said it was not good enough. Or did any of you transfer stuff in? Yeah. So it has to be a certain level of math, or what?
For here?
Yeah.
Well, no, they tried to make me take college algebra, and I had AP
Calculus.
Because I remember me and you were emailing back and forth, and they like weren't trying to give me the credit. They said it wasn't like a
College
comparable
level.
class.
You're like, dude,
They
it's
said that like,
above it.
oh, like it's calculus, it can't like take a math credit for algebra. But I emailed the head of the like
registrar.
department of
Yeah,
where that was.
okay.
Dr. Cronoma did it for me, and they let me do it.
Did you have one?
Yeah, no, did you? I do, I have one, on the table with my computer.
Oh,
I got 11, that's what I have.
and then you upload it to
And then
PQL. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, where is it? I'm in conflict. Or
I have everything under assignments. So let's go back to that.
He's like our computer expert person. I mean, it's
So if you go into assignments, you're saying you want,
Yeah, I already finished it.
so you just want to know where to turn it in.
Yeah, I got it. I got it quick.
Okay. You gotta turn it in before it
It's
dies.
been running on it. It's been
I'm with you on that. I'm still,
he's one of the, he helped me with this.
so yeah, on top of all the things you guys have to do to finish this degree, here we go. No. I'll show you. File, open recent. If you need a check sheet, email me. We just always try to make sure everybody's on the path for timely graduation. But remember, there is only like 9 social work classes, so that's good to know. Everything else is going to be an elective. Is anybody going to do child welfare? So we've got the UPP program. Is that what you're going to do? Have you taken child welfare 1 or 2 yet? How is it? Busy? Okay. And then which one of those is online? There's one that's online and one that's in person. You're in the in-person. It's probably 2 that's online then. So that's the only other new offering we have, but that counts as your electives in social work. And you only need 1 social work elective. So it's 3 credit hours, either cultural and social sensitivity, older adults, healthcare, or child welfare. If you take any one of those, they count. Which one are you taking?
I took cultural and social last year.
Okay, so you're good. Hello. Just talking about the check sheet.
I just need to get it physically in my hand because I changed my major last semester.
Okay,
Inside college. So
okay. What grade level are you now then? Do you have like 60 hours done or?
no, my
grade 5?
Like, cause I tanked my spring semester last year.
As a freshman?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're at
So
like 30.
I just hit sophomore, I think.
Yeah, so you have, as long as you have 30 every year or
Mhm.
15 every semester, you guys graduate within 4 years. If you want to do it faster, you take 18 every semester or take summer classes. So,
That's why I'm trying to boost it now, cause I'm at 17.
okay. But if you retake those, it'll replace the grade.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the key. Like if you want your
I'm in some of
GPA.
those classes right now.
Okay, so retake those, not the end of the world. We're just talking about bringing the baby into the world, but I like to deal with current life situations right now as we got them, and then get back to birthing a baby, because then which slide were we on? It says 18 is the perfect time to make a baby. It's like, that seems right, yeah. Obviously it happens. I waited, I think 25 years past that. So there's the good and the bad of that too, is you're 65 when your kids finish high school. Anybody have a dad that was 65 when you graduated? Damn, I guess I screwed up. But it encourages you to stay healthy. We mentioned how the last week or 2 weeks of pregnancy is when your lungs develop. That's why there is often respiratory distress syndrome if you're giving a premature birth. So anytime at 36 weeks or 37 weeks, the lungs are still forming. The baby could have RDS. Then you get treatment for RDS, has to be provided with complications. So sometimes when you give birth, we mentioned aspiration of fecal matter. That's one concern. They also have, if you have high oxygen levels, retinotherapy is caused by high oxygen levels. And then respiratory distress syndrome, children often placed on ventilators. So I'm not a medical expert, but like as a social worker, you hear this information, you know that there could have been a rough start at birth. And the last one it mentions bronchopulmonary dysplasia, BPD. It's a complication seen in children placed on ventilators. And we saw that during COVID, where it like forces your lungs open. That's not always good for you, but obviously it's the only option to keep you alive. That's what they do to keep you alive. So weirdly enough, the fetus can see like a flashlight. Like sometimes they'll shine a flashlight through your belly. They can see, the daylight. They know when it's light out. They still have pain. They do have a sense of touch, even taste. That's why you might crave something when you're pregnant. Like they always say pickles and ice cream. Like my wife always gets like weird ass shit. And I'm like, why'd you want that? And she's like, don't talk to me. So I just get it for her. I try not to fight about it, but I just get it for her. My sister yesterday said, you gained 6 pounds already? You aren't gaining weight because of the baby. And so she was a little sensitive about that comment. She said, you don't gain weight at 7 weeks. You gain weight when the baby like gets to that or gets to that. So my wife took it as being accused of eating garbage, and she was pissed at my little sister. I'm like, well, you have the right to be pissed at my little sister. I'd be pissed too. Because I gain weight with her. So like you gain sympathy pounds or whatever. Like, they say usually they gain 10 to 15 pounds. So I'll try to put on the same. Hopefully it's muscle, but it probably won't be. But so yeah, at 26 weeks, they respond to sound. So you start talking to the baby. You ever seen somebody like talk to the belly button? Like, hey, what's up? And they'll like talk to the baby through the belly button. They do like recognize your voice. So they do demonstrate habituation. So they're learning. That's why they say they can live after 21 weeks outside the room, outside the room or the womb. And they recognize mom's voice at birth. So if like mom sings or if there's other things going on with mom, the mother's emotion affects the fetus. So if mom is stressed out all the time or in a difficult situation, that could be challenging because mom puts off a cortisol stress hormone, and that's why they do mention even trying to give birth with less stress. So depression, anxiety, there is research that showed there's a lower birth weight of the baby if like mom has depression or mom's diagnosed with anxiety. They used to say don't give the depression meds because that could affect the fetus. There's some new research coming out. I'd like to know if it was done by the pharmaceutical companies, but it says it's okay to take depression medication. It's okay to take anxiety medication. Usually it's lower birth weight, but they're saying it's okay. I don't know. I haven't looked up who did that research because sometimes you want to vet who that research is coming from. Like, is the person who sells you the drug telling you it's okay to take the drug, or was that done by an outside researcher? To look that up. 10% of the time is spent in quiet, alert state. So, which is kind of annoying. Usually the baby sleeps when you're awake, but then the baby's awake when you try to sleep. So like it'll kick you or kick your kidney or make you have to pee, like sit on your bladder or whatever it is. But they learn to recognize when the baby has had enough, like when they're eating after they're born, particularly in the NICU. Anybody know about the NICU or heard of the NICU? Neonatal intensive care unit. So in Cincinnati, we've got a lot that are born withdrawing from heroin, and they kind of show the shakes that come with that. Oh yeah, I went back to my pictures from India. I don't know if they still have like a video. Oh, they want to send me help right away too. Uh-oh, I think I'm shooting dope. I'm not, but there is some, because the baby does have to get the drug out of their system. That's partly why they definitely encourage folks to get off some of the things, because those are the shakes that opioid withdrawal can cause. It's a lot. Because the body wants the drug, you get used to it. You're like wanting to have that in, and they sometimes need more touch, so they'll even have like nurses to hold them 24 hours or rock them. Just some things that come up with that. There's also different assessments that they do. One of them is the Brazelton Neonatal Assessment Scale, the BNAS. They do that at less than 30 days. And it assesses the reactivity and regulation. So it's kind of a baby IQ test that they're given to see if they're reacting properly. Like there's so many different baby tests that they give to check if the baby is developing properly. And it sounds weird, but like it's these first 3 years are seriously like everything. So giving the baby the proper nutrition, giving the baby the proper exposure to things, learning. Your brain is, developing so fast. There's so many things, and kind of why they get into trauma and development. So there was a video that I've often liked to use that's specific to trauma, and I don't know if I can find it anymore.
2,000 days in pregnancy until the child is 2 lay the foundations for future health and happiness. During this time, babies' development is shaped by their environment and experiences. Babies can experience psychological trauma when their environments are repeatedly harmful or threatening to them or their parent or caregiver. Traumatic experiences might include physical and emotional abuse, neglect, exposure to domestic abuse, or high levels of stress or conflict at home. Quality of a baby's relationship with their parent or caregiver makes a significant difference. A nurturing relationship can make a child more resilient to negative events. Without a nurturing relationship to support them, children experience negative events as more traumatic. If the relationship between parents and the baby is abusive or neglectful, this is in itself traumatic. This can be referred to as relational trauma. Many people assume that babies and very young children are relatively unaffected by traumatic experiences. But although they may not understand or remember events, babies can experience pervasive biological responses to them. In fact, experiencing psychological trauma in the earliest years can have particularly widespread and lasting impact. Adverse childhood experiences refer to certain types of events that may be traumatic. ACEs do not impact all children the same way. The timing.
Have you guys heard of the ACEs yet? Oh yeah, you probably have to get trained for your job too. So they have a free online quiz everybody can take about the 10, what they identify. Some of them have different ones, but usually it's 10 adverse childhood experiences. Most of us have one or two. They say for those of us that have 3, 4, or more, without help and therapy, it can cause some challenges later on in life. So it's important to get that exposure to therapy if there are 4 or more ACEs. There's another documentary I show on that about ACEs and trauma called Paper Tigers. It's just whenever I show it and I also am streaming, it shuts down my channel because of like copyright infringement. So I often have to give them to you to watch later or differently. So I'll send it to you guys.
Pattern and intensity of stress and distress matters. A significant predictor of how an adverse childhood experience will impact a child is the strength and security of their relationship with their parent. Research shows that traumatic experiences in the earliest years can have significant and lasting effects because this is a period of rapid brain development. Trauma impacts babies' development because it leads to persistent levels of stress, called toxic stress. When toxic stress persists, it can influence the development and function of babies' brains with potentially widespread and long-lasting consequences. Early childhood trauma can have a profound impact on children's emotional, behavioural, cognitive, social, and physical development and functioning. Early trauma can influence a child's ability to cope well in different situations, to learn, and to trust adults and to make friendships. Children who've experienced early trauma can have a heightened response and react to situations and find it hard to regulate their emotions. Early trauma can affect a child's developing immune system and also increase the risk of physical health problems, and heart disease into old age.
So this is one of the more interesting findings when there's another popular video about the Surgeon General of California talking about the folks that got exposure to adverse childhood experiences growing up are more likely to have heart disease. They're more likely to have other different, not just drug use and smoking cigarettes and things of that nature. Even those that didn't use drugs, drink, or smoke cigarettes also showed heart disease because of the way cortisol affects the body in general. So that was one of the interesting findings. A lot of times you think there's trauma, so you start drinking and smoking at a young age, that's what affects you long term. But even those that didn't drink and smoke as like one of their coping things at a young age also showed physical health problems.
It's vital that policymakers, practitioners, and the wider public understand the impact of early trauma and support the creation of services that both aim to prevent early trauma and to reduce its impact. This includes services that support the important relationship between parents and their babies. We know that strong and nurturing relationships are the most effective way to protect children from the impact of negative experiences and to help them to heal from trauma.
So that is kind of the introduction to the route a lot of agencies are going now is using a trauma-informed care approach, like understanding that many folks have trauma nowadays, and that it's not like that whatever was challenging the kids at a young age is going to ruin them for life, but more that like there's resiliency and ways that we can use that trauma-informed care approach to help people heal and like face the trauma and get into things that will help their development. And that it can be seen at not just a young age, but even in the womb. So some of the other newborn things, they can focus on objects. They prefer contrasting patterns. So like if I came at them with this shirt, they might ignore it. But then if I'm wearing something with like the stripes and like different other patterns, like the baby is always attracted to contrasting and complex patterns. They prefer high-pitched sounds, so a lot of people, when they talk to the baby, they're like, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" You know, like the higher pitch. And a female voice. They prefer sweet over salty, so they're not much different than us. I was just looking for like a lot of times I have snacks, and it's been chaotic enough the past several days. I don't even have my snacks packed, which is bad. We have a food pantry in our room, but that's kind of gotten depleted. Maybe I do have something. Anybody else a snack person? Dang, I emptied it. That sucks. Yeah. Yeah. And so the baby prefers sweet over all of the acidic, bitter, salty, just like we do. They also can imitate facial expressions, even sticking out their tongue. So that was the video that I wanted to put, but like having that exposure to the early, often they say one positive role model in their life. It was like a Harvard video that made it pretty decent research. There's so many different research things going on, but since this big research study in 1999, trauma has really been infused. And as you see, it's coming out in more of the research studies and some of the things that, have you guys heard of the still face study? This is one that they did, and they also did it with both moms and dads. And there's quite a bit on this one. And I'll show you the short ones because this one gets to the point. But
babies this young are extremely responsive to the emotions and reactivity and the social interaction that they get from the world around them. This is something that we started studying 30, 40 years ago when people didn't think that infants could engage in social interaction. And the still face experiment what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby who's about a year of age. And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her. This baby starts pointing at different places in the world and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this. And then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points. Yeah. The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, come on, why aren't we doing this? Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions, they turn away, they feel the stress of it, they actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
Okay. I'm here. And what do you do? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a little like the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And is that
The
fast?
good is that normal stuff that goes on that we all do with our kids. The bad is when something bad happens, but the infant can overcome it. After all, when you stop the still face, the mother and the baby start to play again. The ugly is when you don't give the child any chance to get back to the good. There's no reparation, and they're stuck in that really ugly situation.
It brings to mind just the number of distractions we have nowadays with electronics, with texting, with stuff that moms have at their disposal. And it may be self-soothing mechanisms for mom to take a break. And the hard part being, or dads, they notice right away, like within 2 or 3 minutes. There was also in Kentucky a few years back, like a public service announcement. I think of either an overdose or even alcohol. If you drank too much and passed out, and like you've got a baby there, and they're looking for that brain development exposure without the trauma that the baby showed
To try and get
when the still face was occurring. I'm thinking of even somebody who, if it's strong enough heroin, you could nod off for 2 hours, and you got the baby trying to get your attention for 2 hours, or if you drink enough and pass out for a few hours. And just the cortisol that shoots through that brain and causes developmental concerns, and or even texting. You know what I mean? If you're that engulfed in your phone, and we all have it. Like it's normal. They say a text is like a tap on the shoulder, so you're going to attend to that. And it's interesting that research is showing it's also affecting someone as young as 6 months, 8 months, 12 months. Whereas in the past, especially years ago, they thought like babies don't remember anything before the age of 3. Like, how many of you guys have a memory before the age of 3? I think my memory was at 3.
If baby changes that probably equate with something real.
Right. Yeah. So it's just weird how many different connections that brain is making in the first 1, 2 years. And that's why they really are stressing not just the child development, but even nutrition. So like WIC. Has anybody heard of WIC in here? Women and infants and children, to make sure they get enough protein, to make sure you get enough omega-3s and fat, like the things that build the brain, like putting together the brain. So that's why there is so much focus on those first few months, first few years, really. So a few other things that come up, they mentioned after the baby's born. So we're going from conception on this PowerPoint to growth of the baby over the 8 or 9 months. They can live outside the womb at 21 weeks or 22 weeks, but usually born at 36 or 37 weeks. And then the development after that too. So the breast milk. So you hear a lot about breast milk. They've even gotten different cool pumping stations available to almost every mom. I think they try to cover that on insurance. So whether it's Medicaid or any insurance company, like they'll get access. So if you've got to work right away, like usually you're given a certain amount of time off, but not all jobs want to honor. So you might need to pump and then make sure, especially the first few weeks they mentioned with breastfeeding. So like the different antigens you're giving to the baby, the different like whatever viruses you were exposed to, you give them like the remedy to that virus too, whatever. Even like the first day, there's one or two different types of breast milk. Like it starts out as pure fat and then it even changes color. But just how important that is for the baby. You've got here colic. So that's described, they define colicky. I guess I should ask, has anybody heard of colic before? And that's usually described as prolonged bouts of crying in the late afternoon and the evening. It lasts from 2 weeks to 4 months. It peaks around 6 weeks of age. The way they diagnose it is the rule of 3. So usually otherwise healthy, well-nourished baby, crying occurs for more than 3 hours a day, 3 days per week, and 3 weeks in a row. So that's usually how they would define it. Organic causes could be less than 5%. So that would be like they're constipated. That happens if they're dehydrated sometimes, or have lactose intolerance if you're giving them formula, meningitis, and or even abuse. So primarily the causes of colic are gastrointestinal and psychosocial or developmental. So it's telling you something, and that's the info that comes with it. The different newborn states, they have quiet alert, active alert. The crying state, usually they're just trying to tell you they're hungry or tired, or the diaper's wet. Drowsiness state, quiet sleep, active sleep. Infants are like us. They kind of use sleep to control environment. Like if some folks have a stressful day and they want to take a nap, I'm more the opposite, where like if something's stressing me out, I have to go attend to it and like write it up, or like a submission's due. Some people, the dreaming is a good way to control it. Babies certainly do that. So they can sleep through some crazy stuff. I wanted to finish with all these reflexes. And there's good examples of each one of these for you guys. So the baby reflex and rooting. Anybody know what rooting is? Yeah? So, this one always shows them. A lot of times it's how you get the baby to.
The Tempur-Pedic breeze makes sleep feel cool.
Like
so no more sweating all
you
night.
tickle their cheek and they go to eat.
Because the Tempur breeze
So,
stays at 10 degrees cooler all night long.
Gotta have your commercial first. So rooting is an important reflex that they have. It's natural.
registerednursern.com, and in this video, I want to demonstrate how to assess the rooting reflex in a newborn. And this is seen when the infant's cheek or side of mouth is stroked. The head will actually turn towards it, and the infant's mouth will open in an attempt to suck. So this reflex is really helpful in helping the baby find their food source they want to feed. And it tends to disappear around about 4 months of age. Okay, so that wraps up this video on how to assess the root.
So all these different reflexes tell us stuff about the baby and their development. Anybody heard of palmar grasp? I think so. I'm gonna have to search it again because I always say I'm not a biological expert, and I think you are correct. So the palmar grasp, we're gonna let the nurse explain it because I should just type it, but because some are trying to explain what it's for, like safety, or it's the same nurse. And it's showing that they're developing properly. They show reflexes.
Hey everyone, it's Sarah, registerednursern.com, and in this video, I want to demonstrate how to assess the palmar grasp reflex in a newborn. Palmar means we're talking about the hand. So this reflex deals with something with the hand. So you can get a response out of the infant whenever you place a finger or you stroke the inside of the infant's palm. And whenever you do this, the hand will close around it. This tends to disappear around about 4 to 6 months of age. Okay, so that wraps up this video on how to assess the palmar grasp reflex in it.
So again, checking brain development as a social worker, knowing these different reflexes. Oh yeah, this was a nice creepy one. You heard of the doll's eye?
Yeah,
Have you?
that's like their eyes, like if you move their head, their eyes move in the opposite direction. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you were to turn their head to the right, their eyes should look left.
Oh yeah, this one's always
Right.
interesting because it's I like the creepy music. That's why I like this one. You seen those dolls that do that? So again, if they're not doing some of these reflexes, like it's something to consider for their actual development. Why it's not showing up? I always come across that one. I forget why why that one was important, but again, it's showing like pieces of brain development if they're developing properly. Like Chucky. So just checking how they're growing up. Babinski is another one. That's another reflex that they look at to see how they're developing. That's usually like to make sure they don't fall off of you, like their feet would grasp. Here we go. If you just
Upload your
foot
3D model.
and then it kind of closes on it.
Sarah, registered nurse, RN.com, and in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to assess the Babinski reflex in a newborn. This is seen when the bottom of the foot is stroked from the heel upward along the outward part of the foot. So what's going to happen with this, you will see the big toe dorsiflex, so it's going to bend backwards, and the other toes are going to fan out or spread out. And this is what you want to see in an infant. Now, in an adult, you do not want to see this response. I actually have a video where I show you what a normal and abnormal Babinski reflex is in an adult, and you can check that video out if you're interested. And this tends to disappear, this type of response, around about 1 year of age. Okay, so that wraps up this video.
So when I do my assessments, even on adults now, I ask about child development. You ask if they were behind on anything, if they were even also ahead on some things, and it just is more information to process as you are assessing them. Tonic neck, and I forget what Maro is. Does anybody know what Maro
That's
is?
like if they were like mimic falling, their arms
That's
and like shoot up.
so like that.
Or do they go to catch themselves?
Right,
I
like
think they
this.
just go up and out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same nurse type. Got it? So it's showing their brain is properly developing.
Here's registered nurse, RN.com, and in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to assess the Moro reflex in a newborn. And this is also sometimes called the startle reflex. So this is seen when an infant hears a sudden loud noise, they will do this reflex, or if they experience an unexpected movement, like if you go to lay them down and you lay them down where they're supine and you're supporting their head, and their head's just a little bit lower than their body, and you lay them down on a surface, they will do this reflex. So what it looks like is that the infant will throw out their arms, hence extend them, and the palms will be upward. Sometimes they'll move the arms back to the body after doing this, and they may even cry. And this reflex tends to disappear around about 6 months of age. Okay, so that wraps up this video on how to assess the Moro reflex in a newborn. And be sure to check out our other videos where we demonstrate.
So those are all, I know we're getting towards the end of this PowerPoint, but the last one is the tonic neck. There's a lot of social work programs funded by federal funds like Head Start, Early Head Start, Help Me Grow, lots of social work jobs in terms of like if you were born prematurely to help these developmental milestones, and they have a social worker come out and kind of even urge them on. So lots
The
of
Tempur-Pedic
jobs
Breeze makes
and funding for prematurity or child development. And where I used to work at Lighthouse, we had 19 different programs, and that was one of the many, like Help Me Grow.
Everyone, it's Sarah with registerednurserrn.com, and in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to assess the tonic neck reflex in a newborn. So this is sometimes referred to as the fencing reflex. And let that name fencing reflex help you, because it'll help you understand how this infant will look whenever this reflex is initiated, because fencing is a type of sport where people fight with swords. So the response is whenever an infant's head is turned to a particular side, the leg and arm on that side will extend while the leg and arm on the opposite side will flex, similar to how those people look whenever they're fencing. And this reflex tends to disappear at about 4 months of age. Okay, so that wraps up this video on how.
So those are all the different tests. Like you bring the baby in almost every month to month and a half when it's first born, and they're checking all these things to see the brain development is normal. Make sure you're hitting all those milestones. The golden hour was like when we had our first 3, they always make sure both mom and dad hold them for like at least an hour and get the skin on skin. That's when they keep all the like nasty good bacteria on them. Like they don't really wipe it all off because that's important for development. Some people even keep the placenta connected because it's still feeding off the placenta. So they'll have it. It depends on where you give birth. I think the hospital just cuts it off and throws it right away. Some research has shown that it's important to keep the placenta connected until the baby's done feeding on it. Then they start breastfeeding on you, so there's not a gap in like the nutrients they're getting, the iron for brain development. But that golden hour is the sensitive period after birth for bonding. So you hold them. They had me like take my shirt off. Still have like the stamps on them, so like they'll step on your stomach and put stamps on you. Just because it's important for early mother-infant contact. The practices including skin to skin and then breastfeeding encouragement. So they try to get you to feed right away, try to teach the baby how to latch, try to get them, developing properly, and then start shifting to mom, making sure that there isn't that 1 out of 5 who experience postpartum depression and anxiety. When you do your presentation on major mental health disorders, some folks choose to present on postpartum depression. They've now also diagnosed that in men. So like men also are noticing some of that. I had a client once before who was, he was a stay-at-home dad, and he was so overwhelmed, he actually did try to commit suicide. And I think maybe he wanted to undo it, like cut his wrist, but then called 911. So like they kicked in the door. The challenging thing was, they then put the baby on watch, like CPS got involved and make sure that everyone's safe, that he's not going to try to kill himself again from being overwhelmed with the caretaking. They talk about baby wearing as a therapeutic tool. So you've seen all these little wraps that they sell, and like they even have the wraps and the portable pump. So like I got my wife one that's a battery and you can just walk around and it just pumps while you're moving. So a lot of pumps plug in, but now with like the good batteries, you can like pop them on, or you can just leak into them. They have some you just attach and just leak into it. So that's an option. The pump is good because it does, with the suction, you still produce a lot of milk. If there's not like suction, the baby drinking that much, you start producing less and less and less. And that's why they encourage the pumping. going to breastfeed, so it emulates the baby sucking. You still make milk as long as you can. Like, they're not going to tell you what to do, but they always go with the philosophy breast is best, mainly because of different antigens it gives them and whatnot. But they understand, like, modern day, it's hard. Like, you've got 2 working parents, maybe 2 working parents with 4 full-time jobs, if that's even possible. But you're seeing more and more of that with inflation, the bad economy, the bad economy's effect on child development and things of that nature. Even the COVID, like, they have a lot of research done now that it's been 4 years, but you guys will probably all remember the day you found out we were shutting down. Like, anybody not remember? March 17th, 2020, Ohio? Yeah, Ohio shut down.
Mine sent out that tweet.
My 16th birthday? Yeah.
Oh, your birthday?
The day before my 16th.
Damn. We were told not to come back on spring break. They're like, cool, take your shit, go home, don't come back. I'm like, what? And then we finished class online, and we weren't set up to be online back then. We're still not really set up, if you've noticed. You ever try to do online? We only have like 1 or 2 degrees because we never were an online college. So we try to accommodate in any way. That's kind of when I started the filming of class, so it's saved in the cloud, and if it needs to be rewatched later, it can be. But in social work, you have to get fully accredited as a total online program. That's why we don't have online. A lot of people that do want fully online go to criminal justice. That's our one. Psychology is kind of going online, but they're not fully online. Business is fully online. I feel like there's 2 or 3 total that we can do online. CrimJ, maybe IDS, that's downstairs, interdisciplinary studies, and then business. So I know we're close to the end of the chapter 3 PowerPoint, but I wanted to stop for any questions, especially about your genogram. We'll next do the eco map, or anything you found out, like mentioned earlier. Like, I found out this about the genogram.
When you mentioned social work's working in this context, is it that they work with the parents and families that are like having, like, is that why you learn stuff about development with children, and they're the one like kind of communicating and like helping mitigate and like regulate, I guess, emotions and whatnot?
Yeah, and a lot of prevention too. So like, if there is something that's coming up, if it's as bad as alcohol use disorder or heroin use, to make sure that they get the treatment they need early on, and then the kids also developing properly for prevention of future. Yeah. Or knowing that there wasn't something that was given along the whole developmental process that maybe you could play catch up with.
So we get a feel for it's like severe cases, drug addiction, stuff like that, and then less severe like postpartum depression, people that are just having maybe depressive symptoms and stuff like that, and they want more than medication, but like counsel in a sense.
Yes, a lot of medication does ask that counseling be provided with that medication usage. So yes, that's a big one. Some meds you can breastfeed on, some meds you can't. I have to look at that list again too, as I always forget. But there's so many things. We'll finish with these last few slides Thursday, but just like the social dimension, the point that kids need healthy support and stimulation in the home. Help Me Grow kind of encourages that as a social worker with different activities. Maybe helps you to, maybe you didn't know you had free access to a pump so that you can give both breast milk and formula if you're working full time, or like advocate for the person that they get a pumping station at work. Like, I think by law they have to be given some form of a break and a pumping station if you want to pump. Knowing the law and your rights as a mom, and like development in general, and then also prevention of sudden infant death syndrome. So that's another prevention thing. But there is research being done. I know they've done promotional educational campaigns like the Alone Back in Crib.
I think when I was cribs for kids. They have a class that you take, and then after you get a free packing line, so you can put your kids.
Really?
You know, close. They was actually up the street. My fiance went to get.
In Xenia?
Yeah.
Okay. So they are giving out cribs so you can do a loan back in crib. Like, because there's pack and play. I think we dumpster dived ours from a relative. You know, I say
Yeah.
dumpster dive, but it was like a relative that wasn't using it because they ain't cheap. They're probably like $100 if you.
We have two. They're both free.
Right, which is huge because if you don't have, say, for example, a crib, and maybe you are drinking for the first time one night, which is totally normal, legal, and whatever, but maybe you drank a little too much and the baby's sleeping in the bed next to you, you can roll over on top of it and just not know because maybe you had a few drinks. Yeah.
I think there's also like even like I have friends who have kids, and it's like, oh, like well, my mom did it with me. Like my mom co-slept with me.
Yep.
And I feel like that's also a reason why it's like just like your grandparents like, oh, I do it with you guys, and they
Right.
turned out fine.
Or feeding them oatmeal at 3
In the
months.
bottle,
Yeah.
like, cutting the nipple.
Which your digestive tract isn't totally fully developed until
Right.
like certain different months. And just so sometimes just having that research, the social worker being the informative process of the research on how to feed, how to give food, how to teach, how to chew, how to sleep, how to just have exposure to those crucial things that come up. And yeah, intervention programs provide support, education, and encourage prenatal care. So it decreases the risk of abuse because sometimes it is very easy to get overwhelmed with a baby crying that's colic. And some people don't know, but they'll just stop crying, and that can actually kill a baby. So you shake it and the brain rattles in its head and it can paralyze it or kill it. Or that's another one that they have campaigns when I was growing up, there was these commercials that would always say never, never shake a baby. I feel like they still have those, but okay. I can show you. It was weird. But, and that was just because you just get that frustrated. This might have been the actual commercial.
I didn't know what to do. He just kept on crying. I couldn't tell if he was hungry or sick. I would put him in the stroller, but it was late and I was tired. I couldn't stop crying. I didn't shake him like that. I didn't mean to hurt him. I didn't think he would die.
Sometimes it's a crime what we do to our kids. Never, never, never shake.
So that was a big campaign just because it was an educational, as simple as it seems or sounds, but that was huge. That parents do get to their wits' end. They're just stop crying, whatever it may be, just a reaction that you don't even know that you have. But there's so many, there's on that, the examples, things.
Looks like bed sharing is a big factor in the Midwest.
Huge.
What about ambient temperature too? Might be both.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's so much research being done, but just that crib campaign was huge because that was almost both federally funded and state funded and just put out there because, it seems so easy when you're exhausted. You want to lay on your side and just give the baby the food like that. So it's they just lay here. You don't have to hold it. And you're just breastfeeding. But you could do that, and then when they're done feeding, put them into, there's that thing that's on the side of the bed. That's what it's called. So you've got the bassinet. I should know and remember all these. I think I'm showing my age now, but yes, we have a bassinet. It attaches to the bed, even zips so you can't roll into the bassinet, and it's only this big, so you couldn't even fit in there anyway. But then when they start lifting up, you gotta either get a crib or a pack and play or something that's taller that they don't flip out of and on their head. So.
When I was in the hospital after I had my daughter, I was holding her, I guess, I was looking down, and the nurse thought I was sleeping. She started panicking.
She freaked out.
I was sleeping with my baby in my arms, but I wasn't even asleep, but that's how serious they took that.
Right, because you nod off. You're up 20 hours a day with the baby too, so you're going to be nodding off in random places, and it's just like, so they just, yeah, there's just lots of educational campaigns, lots of, you guys have, we still got 2 more days for the genogram. I have questions, how to do it, which is fine. You're allowed to have questions. Yeah.
So, are we putting ourselves as like the
Centerpiece.
yes?
Yeah.
And then how many like generations? Do you just want our parents?
3 is the average, yes. There are some people that do 4, but like, see how complicated they get them? Like you mentioned, all the symbols.
So we can do.
As you can. I often use, so the last genogram, and they're selling you the software.
What is a genogram? A genogram is a special type of family tree. A family tree will simply display ancestry information. However, a genogram will display additional information about the relationships of the individuals. Genograms are drawn using standardized symbols that help the viewer understand the relationships. The basic family symbols include a square for a male and a circle for a female. Genograms also include special symbols to indicate if children are twins or if a child is a. Genograms also may include information about the actual emotional relationships. There are symbols to indicate a wide range of emotions ranging from friendship to hate. Genograms may also be used for medical and genetic analysis by simply typing this.
So like on mine, I would put in alcoholism, I put in bipolar disorder on my uncle and my grandma, and that's genetic. The alcoholism's all throughout my family. So it tells me something to watch for me, or if we're counseling somebody, if they mention like their dad had alcoholism, their brother, their uncle, and their grandpa, it might be
We
genetic.
use Star Wars and the Skywalker family as an example. Let's start by looking at Padme's family. Her father Ruby, represented by a square, mother Jabal, represented by a circle. She also has an older sister named Sola. We know she's older because she's Anakin Skywalker, who is the son of Shmi Skywalker and the Force. Anakin and Padme have twins, Luke and Leia. Luke is adopted by Owen Lars and Barry Whiteside. Owen turns out to be the son of Leia Lars, who married Anakin's mother after Owen's mother died. On the other hand, my family. Luke has a close fight with his father. They fight every time they see each other. Luke is friends with Han Solo, who marries Leia, and have a child named Ben. Anakin, Luke, Leia, we can see a pattern from which we could begin to theorize that this is a hereditary trait. As you can see, a genogram can provide a lot of information, and this is just the beginning. If you want to find out more information about genograms,
Then go to your grandparents, and obviously, you know, so and it's looking at what the genetic links are, what if you've got first generation college students, if you've got scholars, alcoholism, bipolar disorder, and different symbols for each one. So like if there is anxiety disorder or depression or things that run in the family, and as a clinician, it tells us to keep in mind that that could go on in this family, and that's why we learn how to make it. So does that help explain it better for you?
Yeah, the lines, I see like the lines are different. Does that matters?
Right, dad. So that's why he's showing they have a close violence relationship.
Yeah, you said we could take liberty as long as we have some, as long as it's explained.
Yeah,
If I had
yeah.
a key to the bottom, it doesn't
Yep.
really matter if we go off the original line. Just try to make as coherent as possible.
Yeah, so have a key of whatever it is. Like if there was a divorce in the family, you could have a squiggly line. If there was a separation or a remarriage, or maybe you got Mormons in your family, they got 5
Also,
wives.
you don't just have to say what the lines mean.
Correct. Yep, and that you can draw it by hand. If you want to use Gene Pro, that's what the software is. That's what they're advertising. You don't have to. If you want to draw it on here and take a picture to upload to D2L, that's perfectly okay. And then the more info, the better, because as a clinician, if you get these details, you know about your client genetically, you know about your client in every way possible. So that's all. I